for being here today. This is my name is Linda Hashuff. I'm with Opportunity Alliance Nevada, and we are really excited today that we are through our partnership with the Guinn Center that we can offer this event and bring this information to you. I think it's really valuable and really timely. A couple of housekeeping issues, just really quick up front. If you have a question, feel free to enter it in the chat function. If you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a chat emblem. You can click on that. And you can also, if you click on the participants, you will see that there is a raise hand function as well. So you could use that if you want to ask a question. But our Tracy Sherwood, who's also with Opportunity Alliance Nevada, will be watching the chat function, and she will be watching for the raised hands to see if anyone has a question. One other quick item is we have a lot of really wonderful experts on the phone with us today, and some of them work in departments where they deal with caseloads. So this won't be the forum to ask specific questions about a case or an individual or private information. So anything that you might want to ask under those lines, this won't be the forum for it. So thank you for understanding. And so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to Nancy Brune, who's with the Guinn Center, who organized this for us, put this together for us, and is our leader in keeping us informed on so many important things. I'm pretty sure our board chair, Nancy Brown, is also on the phone or participating somehow. Can't tell. There's a lot of folks. Once it's so many, you can't tell who's there. But Nancy, you're with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is very good, important information as people navigate their financial strategies and situations going forward. So thank you, Linda, and thank you, speakers, for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. So we do have a great panel today, and I want to get started so that they have the time to present what they can tell you about. And our first speaker is Professor Francine Lipman, who's with the Boyd School of Law in UNLV. She has an extensive background as an accountant, a lawyer, a teacher, and a scholar. She was appointed by Governor Sandoval in 2016 to the Nevada Tax Commission, and she was also reappointed by Governor Sisolak in 2020. She has written extensively on tax and accounting issues and legal journals, and she is here to talk to you today about taxes and the stimulus, the effect that it's having. So please go ahead, Professor Lipman, and welcome.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And let me get my PowerPoint loaded. Can everyone see my PowerPoint, I hope? Yes.
Yes.
Am I seeing? Okay, great. Well, thank you, Nancy, and thank you, everyone. And I just want to make sure that everyone in Nevada knows that as the only tax law professor in the state, I feel an obligation and a duty to be your tax law professor. So as you can see on this slide, this is my contact information. My email address is the best way to get in touch with me since I'm obviously not in my office. And I'm quite active on Twitter. I'm kind of proud to be a top 100 tax Twitter account ranked by Forbes magazine. So follow me, because the one thing I can say about the COVID-19 tax issues, it is incredibly dynamic. And like so many things about COVID, minute by minute, things change. And what's important about that is in Nevada, we get this because we're a small state population-wise, not geographically, but we know that our voices can be heard. And so I want to tell you that there have been some stumbling along the way with respect to the economic impact payment, which is what I want to talk about initial, most significantly, but also some of the deadlines. The extension of the deadlines, we were really upset that the IRS was initially requiring people to file extensions. We thought that's ridiculous. So the good news is people, the tax professionals from sea to shining sea, including me, proudly representing Nevada, in my own capacity, not as a Nevada tax commissioner, not as a UNLV law professor, but just as a tax professional, said, that's ridiculous. And the good news is the government responded. So let's keep that going. These things are dynamic. So if you see something that you think is an injustice, send an email to me, let's talk about it, and we can get the word out. The good news is the IRS tax commissioner is actually a very good friend of, I would say, the law school, in that I know him well, and he's very much committed to tax justice. Sounds like someone needs to
Please
mute
make
their
sure
phone.
everyone's muted.
Tracy, can you
Okay, so if you see something that doesn't make sense, speak out. We can contact our members of Congress. And as you probably know, the HEROES Act passed the House, and that has some significant tax relief and fixes some of the problems that we saw in the initial go-round. And so contact your senators if you think that should be passed. We just want to get more money out to needy households. And I think everybody across the country knows there has to be more. And so let's push that out. So what do we have now? Well, I really want to let everyone know that the filing deadlines have right now been pushed out pretty much, certainly for individual income tax returns, not only individual income tax returns filing, but also paying your taxes. So that has been pushed out until July 15th, which is actually going to be here before we know it. Not just the amount that was due for your 2019 tax return, but also first and second quarter estimates for 2020. That's all been pushed to July 15th. We are hearing that the Treasury might extend that further. So that is kind of rumblings we're hearing now. So that might happen. I'll keep you posted if it does. But what you can do is you can get an automatic extension to file your 2019 income tax return online very easily for free. You can file that using the IRS link for free file fillable forms. Say that fast 5 times. And you can get an automatic extension to October 15th. So people might think about doing that. And by the way, any interest in applicable penalties on amounts due for 2019 are not accruing, but those under current law, those will start accruing July 16th. So what people can do though, and I'm encouraging people to do, is file now. You can always pay on July 16th, and there's a myriad of ways you can pay. You can mail in checks, you can do it electronically online. I encourage people to check out the IRS website. It's got a plethora of information. One thing I will tell you though is the IRS is not processing paper returns or really any sort of correspondence. And so, but you should send it in. That doesn't mean don't send it in, but just don't be expecting any remedy literally for months and months. They're now starting to populate their offices, but it's going to be very slow. You can only imagine the tsunami of mail that is going to be waiting for the IRS. And they are still sheltering pretty much at home. So everything is pretty much, to a certain extent, is very good news for low income, financially pressed individuals. offers in compromise, that people who are trying to mitigate their tax debt collection, all of these on hold. $50,000. They're actually suspending passports. They're not doing that currently. And the IRS is actually not, we're not seeing tax court. Tax court calendar has been postponed. So all of this is pretty much suspended through July 15th. I expect we're going to hear in the next month or so whether that's going to be pushed out even further. But most importantly, the good news is that, and I'm going to watch my clock because I always have more to say than time, is that this economic impact payment, about 140 million economic impact payments have been pushed out from the US Treasury. And so most people, a lot of people, received these either automatic deposits or actual paper checks. But I just want to refresh your recollection quickly as to how it works. So the way it works statutorily is that it is actually a credit that you're going to claim 2020 income tax return that you file next year in 2021. In order to out early, so you're not going to get it again, but if you didn't get it based upon your 2019 or 2018 income tax filing, maybe because your income was too high, and then unfortunately because of COVID, you lost your job, so your 2020 income is low, you will get this amount when you file your 2020 income tax return in maybe based upon 2019 or 2018 is filed, they will get a chance to get it. So for example, if a new child is born in 2020 and the taxpayer otherwise qualifies, they'll get that $500 for that child. What is required is a valid Social Security number, valid for work. Both spouses have to have that. So what we are recommending for some taxpayers who are married to a spouse that doesn't have a Social Security number that's valid for work, we are recommending they file married filing separately. So that's one option. So we're thinking of workarounds, and the IRS has acknowledged and said that's fine. But the House Act fixes that. So these are all things, as I said, that are kind of a work in process. If somebody's claimed as a dependent on another tax return, that person does not get the economic impact payment. So a lot of the parents who are claiming college students, the college students are dependents, they don't get the economic impact payment, and the parents don't get the $500 because they're over, they're 17 or older. But in 2020, if that person is no longer a dependent, they graduate from college, they're working, then they can file their 2020 tax return and get the economic impact payment. So it's a very complicated, unfortunately, but the good news is there's a wealth of information on the IRS website. Not only does the IRS website have frequently asked questions, but it also has a great link for you. If you haven't gotten your economic impact payment yet, go on to that link and it says, "Where's my payment?" Check that out. One of the weird things about that link is we're finding you need to enter, it asks for your address. You need to enter your address in all capitals, the street address in all capitals, and then it works. If you enter it in lowercase, for some reason it doesn't work. So there's a lot of devil in the details, and Nevada, because we're such a diverse state with folks who are doing a myriad of things. We have a lot of perhaps unique situations, so never hesitate to send me an email. I know that's about all the time I have, so don't hesitate to ask me questions, send me an email. I will be as responsive as possible. We want to, most critically, get all Nevadans who qualify to get this money. And most importantly, I want all Nevadans with refunds to file their 2019 tax returns now. There are VITA programs that are doing free income tax assistance. Let's push our lower income taxpayers, lower and middle income taxpayers, to volunteer income tax assistance. Nevada Free Taxes is doing it virtually. So make an appointment, go to their website and get people to file, because we want them to use those refunds and spend it locally. There's a great multiplier effect. So happy to answer any questions. I know that's a lot, but this is only going to continue to get more complicated. And by the way, one last thing, unemployment income is taxable. So think about that. Unemployment income is taxable income. The economic impact payment is not, but unemployment is. So taxpayers might want to withhold on that, might think about it.
Mm. Very good information. Thank you so much. Lots of good information. And you know what, Professor Lipman, thank you so much for being open to folks contacting you directly.
Absolutely. Anytime.
That is a huge resource and very much appreciated. And I know that the economic impact checks are income-based, meaning if folks make over a certain amount, they won't receive it.
Yes, so those thresholds are like 75,000 for a single person, and it's double that for married filing joint, and right in the middle if you're head of household. And that's the part that it starts phasing out. It's not zero at that point. It starts phasing out $5 for every $100 above those thresholds. And so you still might get some if you're above that.
Okay. So that's, I guess that was one of the questions too. So make sure they pay, look, so even if they might be over the thresholds, take a look and make sure that you are receiving whatever you should be receiving.
Absolutely. And it's based, right now they're pushing it out early based upon 2018 or the most recent tax return filed. So if that's 2019, they'll use 2019. If that's not filed, they use 2018. But if your situation changes in 2020, like it will for so many people, they'll get it when they file their 2020 income tax return.
Okay.
Wow, such great information.
This is Tracy. We have a question from Meredith. You can go ahead and unmute, Meredith.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Professor Lipman. This is Meredith with the Guinn Center. So I have a question regarding 2018 versus 2019 and AGI. So assuming somebody was given a rebate check based on 2018 when their income was lower, and then in 2019 their income was higher. So again, it's based on AGI, and then one looks at it, and then actually because of the distinctions between 18 and 19, the money is, or the check is higher, but then it should have been lower based on 2019. Will the IRS want to collect on the difference even if it's not taxable?
So the good news is the way the statute is written, the literal language of the statute says you do not have to pay it back. So the tax academic and professional community is really pushing back on this. So my response would be you do not have to pay it back. Right now, you might have heard the controversy over people who have died.
Yes.
There are some people who have died who have passed away, but they were alive in 2018 or 2019. They have gotten the checks, or their surviving spouse have gotten the checks. And the way we look at the statute, they shouldn't have to pay it back. The IRS is saying, because The Treasury was saying we're going to pull that back. We're contesting that to some extent, but right now the IRS's position is people who have died, you know, those monies need to come back. I think we're going to get a middle ground on that, and especially because the very sympathetic case would be, of course, somebody who passes away in 2020 from COVID. So, so there are things like that, Meredith, that are still, you know, not resolved, but with respect to the income going up, you don't have to pay it back.
Okay, that's a great question. I know we wrote about it and we left it sort of vague, so that clarification is very helpful. Thank you so much.
Of course. Any more? Happy to answer.
Thank you. Tracy, do you see any more questions or?
As of right now, I don't have any. And yes, the PowerPoint will be shared. We had a question. Yes, the PowerPoint will be shared.
And the PowerPoint actually has some phase out examples and a lot more that I haven't been able to cover, but I wanted to share it with you, including some business issues. And so I told them, share away.
That is wonderful.
I believe the WebEx is supposed to be recorded and on OA's website too.
Great.
Yes, it will be. It will be on the OANV YouTube page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all great questions. Thank you. Thank you so much for Professor Lipman.
Anytime. Happy to do a follow-up. I hope we have a HEROES Act passed, because we're talking about another 1,200, including for these college kids and including for adult dependents like mom or dad who maybe you claim as a dependent. So that's in the HEROES Act. So we'll hope that passes.
Good. We'll keep track of that and have you back on as well. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll
And so
stop
now
share.
I'd like to welcome and introduce Robert Thompson, who is with the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. And he is an eligibility certification specialist in the Henderson District Office. He has a long background in family services and field operations. He was also recognized as one of the key leaders within the DWSS as the agency received bonus funds for being the third most improved state in the nation in the SNAP program. Very, very impressive. So thank you so much for being here today, Robert, and I'd like to turn it over to you. I think you're muted potentially.
There. So can you hear me?
Can, yes.
So good afternoon. Yes, I'm Robert Thompson. Actually, I'm the Deputy Administrator for the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. I started out as an eligibility certification specialist with the agency about 25 years ago. My agency is broken up into different sections, and my section of the agency is service delivery of food stamps, cash, medical, and energy assistance. And approximately 780,000 Nevadans are receiving one or more of those benefit programs. I was asked to come in today to talk about the cliff effect and how the additional benefits that are being approved by the federal government are impacting our programs. So I think it's very important for us to first talk about the different types of benefits that are going out. The stimulus checks of the $1,200 and $500, those are not counted as income in any of our programs. Those are, as we heard earlier, those are credit rebates, and credit rebates are not countable income when a person is applying for or receiving food stamps, cash, or medical assistance. The area that we are seeing the cliff effect is the unemployment. And the unemployment does impact food stamps and cash assistance, specifically even the $600 that is approved, the $600 per week. And we are starting to receive transmissions. We receive data matches daily from the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation that lets the Welfare Division know when a person is on our program but approved for unemployment. and individuals that are receiving unemployment of their state unemployment plus the $600 per week of the federal, the CARES Act, is removing almost all individuals who receive those are now over income for the food stamp program. So at the beginning of this event, we saw a huge increase of people applying for and being approved for food stamps, but now we are seeing a significant number of those individuals being removed from the food stamp program in June and another section of them in July. The unemployment and the $600, the unemployment and the $600 also impacts the TANF welfare program, and we are seeing those customers move off. I think it's important to point out that there is no cliff effect for the Medicaid program at this time. The CARES Act did require that any individual that is receiving Medicaid in March continues to receive Medicaid regardless of what their income levels go to. So until the national emergency is declared resolved, we would not be removing anyone from Medicaid due to their income increases. The SNAP program, the TANF program, again, those are different, and we are seeing those individuals come off of those programs. Our website is Division of Welfare and Supportive Services is dwss.nv.gov, and my contact information, my email information is in there, and I constantly field questions from the community or send those out to our program specialists. So if anybody did have specific questions about how these dollar amounts are impacting benefits, we would be glad to answer those. I did not present PowerPoint or anything today. I was more in the mode that we are going to be having conversation. So if there are questions, I'd be glad to take those questions.
Thank you, Robert. That's really good information. And I'm going to allow others to ask. We have a lot of our volunteers on the phone that help folks directly. Robert, when unemployment runs out, are they automatically re-eligible again? From month to month? Is it a month to month?
In the food stamp program, if the person is still receiving benefits, they can notify us of the change and we would update the case. If the case is already closed and they have not received any benefit that month, they would have to reapply. In all of our programs, but primarily we're talking about the food stamp program that has the highest impact from the federal assistance of the unemployment. We are required to give everyone 13 days notice before we take a negative action. So any person that became ineligible for food stamps, say for June, if we weren't notified and we didn't impact that case for June, we wouldn't impact it till July. So many of those customers are still receiving their June benefit. It is our understanding that the additional $600 will run out in July if it's not extended. And at that point, those customers would have to reapply.
And how long does it take to reapply? Is it a long process?
The filling out the application and filling out the paperwork can be done online or via paper. I would estimate that takes about a half an hour. We normally pick up cases within 3 to 5 days. Right now, we have a turnaround time. We're very proud of our turnaround time during this event. We are picking up cases within 24 hours and sometimes same day. And we normally approve 77% of those cases at first touch. Our average turnaround time for the food stamp program right now is running about 7 days.
Excellent. That is such great information. I know, especially for my volunteers, to know how folks get impacted.
The fastest way, the absolute fastest way to get fastest service from the welfare division is to apply online. It takes, the welfare division processes approximately 69,000 applications a month, and we update about 125,000 tasks per month. When a person applies online, it cuts our transaction time about by 30 minutes because the system is able to do a lot of it automated. So when you factor in the number of actions that we take, saving 30 minutes, it just throws us that far ahead. So anybody that can encourage somebody to apply online has the ability. Some people don't have the ability. And of course, we work those paper applications first come, first serve. It's the electronic applications are not done any priority over the paper applications, but it does save us time. So anybody that can apply online should apply online.
Great information. Any other questions for Robert? You can type them in the chat function. I don't know, maybe I asked some of the questions other folks were thinking. Such great information, Robert. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really important.
No questions. I never get off this easy.
Right?
Can I ask, for those of you who are on the phone, if you'd like to unmute yourselves now and ask questions of Robert?
And you know what, Robert? Maybe they're processing too.
It looks like we have someone who has a question. Go ahead.
Great.
775-291-2015.
Hi, this is Christelle Askew, and I unmuted myself because I'm the next speaker. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Robert.
Okay.
I don't have anything for you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Christelle.
No problem.
That's a good segue, though. So
It
if
is.
it doesn't take more questions, yeah, Christelle asked.
Oh, we do have one question from Peyton.
Okay.
Is the application available through Nevada 211?
Good question.
The application, our links are available through Nevada 211 that would take you to the welfare division. And within the welfare division, we refer to it as Access Nevada. And on our website, there's a link to Access Nevada where a person can apply online. So I wouldn't say it's in 211, but the access is through 211, yes.
Great.
But
Really
it's going to bring you back to the welfare division.
Yeah. Okay. Really good question though, Peyton, and thank you for clarifying that, Robert. Yeah, we access 211 with their clients all the time.
So if I could throw a little pitch out since we have a minute, we acknowledge that not all Nevadans can apply online, and we had a lot of concerns while our lobbies are closed during the COVID event. And we are on our website, there are grocery stores throughout Nevada that agreed to let us drop off paper applications to them. So any Nevadan that needs a paper application, that can't print one offline, that can't get into our office to pick one up, there are grocery stores around the state that have a stack of those to provide them to any needed Nevadan.
And are those grocery stores listed on your website as well, Robert?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Trying to get everybody accommodated. That's great.
I think that's everyone. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
So now, Christelle Askew. Yes, you are, if I have this right, you're the Child Care Unit Chief, and you've been with the state of Nevada under the Division of Welfare since February 2012. And you've worked with several programs and besides that, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Go ahead. You know what? I would introduce.
Sorry.
No, you know what? I think you're going to provide really good information, and it's probably best to have the time for question and answers anyway. So please go right ahead. Thank you. For being here.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. So as you heard, my name is Christelle Askew, and I'm with the Child Care and Development Program under the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. I think it's best if we have such a unique program because we serve two different types of clients. We serve child care providers, and we serve families that need help with subsidy to pay for their child care so that parents can go to work. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview and let you know what's happening during COVID. So we administer the Child Care and Development Block Grant in my unit, and the block grant is received by all states to provide that subsidy to families for care. And we also implement programming that increases the quality of child care in Nevada. So we partner with the Department of Education, the Urban League, and the Children's Cabinet for those activities. And we also fund state child care licensing under the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and we partner with Washoe Child Care Licensing as well. So when this whole thing happened, the Child Care and Development Program's first priority, when childcare was deemed essential by the governor during this crisis, we wanted to help providers funded by the subsidy program with the economic struggles they're facing during COVID-19. So some of the things we did to support those initiatives, we made some temporary policy changes. So we continued to pay subsidy when their doors were closed. If a provider had to close based on everything that was going on, we went ahead and paid the subsidy. And then if that child had to relocate to a second provider because they still need care, these parents are still in poverty and they're still working, we would pay that second provider as well. We also extended eligibility for an additional 12 months to families that would have come up for redetermination during these crisis months. And we've been waiving the copay that parents have for childcare and our wait list on a case-by-case basis, and really trying to target those parents who lost their jobs due to COVID. Another thing we were able to do was quickly put together a pot of funding for emergency stipends for unexpected COVID-related things, so like cleaning supplies, wipes, things they needed based on expanding the children they serve. So if they expanded to serve school-age children, they need school-age supplies. If they're serving infants now, they might need cribs, things like that. So that's some of the things that happened initially, right away. But what happened was we realized, once we tried our best to take care of our subsidy providers, we realized, what? Our scope is bigger now. We need to make sure we're helping just childcare in general in Nevada. So what can we do? And luckily what happened was, we had that emergency stipend. And then additionally, as you may have heard, the CARES Act allotted $3.5 billion to the Child Care and Development Block Grant. And Nevada was lucky enough to receive $32 million from this allotment. So federal guidelines for that grant have been issued that allow us to use the funding to support the policies that we temporarily implemented for COVID, what I just listed, like paying, based on enrollment rather than attendance and waiving the copays and things like that. And they also allowed us to use it just in general to help providers survive the pandemic. So as we continue to develop policy to support providers to sustain their business, we know that subsidy obviously alone isn't enough to keep childcare in business and keep their heads above water. So one of the biggest issues in Nevada in the childcare world is there are not enough children right now to fill the slots available, and that's why providers are losing money. In some cases, outside of subsidy, they serve a lot of other children as well. So it's been reported that a lot of parents wanted to keep their kids at home. So what we did was we took some of the CARES Act, a good portion of the CARES Act funding, and we created a grant program. And that grant program is based on operating costs like payroll, rent, utilities. And so we created the grant program. And when we did that, we made it a competitive grant and we required the submission of a business plan. And we put together a grant evaluation committee of subject matter experts so they can review those applications and determine whether these programs that we're funding will be able to use the funds to make it out on the other side of this crisis. So in order to be good stewards of the funding, we needed to be sure that we're funding programs that can really truly continue to serve families, reopen or stay open in the longer term. And we really also wanted to make sure that those small in-home providers get assistance too. And we're looking at these applications apples to apples. So we're looking at in-home compared to in-home and the bigger centers compared to centers. And our hope is that the funding will help allow families to access childcare as parents start returning to work because things are starting to phase in. So we really haven't seen a cliff effect or a loss of clients because the way that childcare is set up, the subsidy doesn't go to the family, it goes directly to the providers. And because we're paying based on enrollment rather than attendance to help these providers sustain their business, it really just, the funding's just kind of continued to roll out, and we waived the redeterminations, as I said before. So that's kind of an overview of what childcare looks like. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Christelle, that's great information, and I personally think it's really interesting and unique how you guys took the CARES Act money and made it into a grant program to sustain and support the programs that may have not been able to, manage through it otherwise. So I personally think that's really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Any other questions or feedback from anybody? That's just such great information, Crystal. Thank you. And
You're
thank
so
you
welcome
for participating with us. Yeah.
Does anyone on the phone have any questions for Christelle?
I must have given a pretty good presentation.
Yeah.
You did great. So much information.
Comprehensive.
Actually, we do have a question from Marisol. Marisol, if you go ahead and unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I have a question. I was reading about independent contractors. I don't know if you guys can answer that question, but independent contractors, if they're able to file for unemployment.
So I don't know if Professor Lipman's still on the phone. Let's see on the.
She might have stepped away from her computer for a minute.
So Nancy Brune, I don't know if you can take that question.
Yes, and I was trying to pull up the website. So I believe as of last Saturday, the state did set up a system whereby now independent contractors can file for, or they're eligible for unemployment. And now we actually have the system up and running. So if you go to Dieter's website, I believe that you can apply through their system now. I know there's still some kinks and they're working it out, but I believe as of last Saturday, that site went live. So yes, independent contractors are eligible for unemployment and can now file electronically on the Dieter website.
Absolutely. Can you hear me? It's Francine Lipman.
Yes, we can.
Yes. So I second everything that Nancy said, and I actually got a phone call from someone last night that I want to maybe just bring to your attention. This is a nonprofit that works with a lot of individuals who are independent contractors, work for Uber, do landscaping, et cetera, et cetera. And these are individuals who went to unscrupulous pay preparers, and unfortunately we have too many of those in Nevada, unscrupulous paid tax preparers who had prepared income tax returns for these individuals in 2019 and never reported that income. So their individual income tax returns had no evidence of being an independent contractor. And so that, you know, clearly is not a good thing. And so this was for individuals who are, were unauthorized. And so we worry about that they are actually in the system for legalization of their status. So we really want their tax returns. We want everyone's tax return to be accurate, but really want these individuals because they're scrutinized by immigration judges. And so the good news is those tax returns can be amended. And so we're advising them to amend those tax returns. And of course, the unemployment benefits are, when they amend their tax return, there likely is a tax liability due. They can use their unemployment benefits to help pay for that. And again, that tax liability won't be due until July 15th. So there definitely is, it's called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. The acronym is Venetia Considine is PUA. And I think I saw they've already processed 59,000 applications. So I think that it's taking some time, but they have started it.
Thank you. We have a question or a statement from Paige. It's PUA, in reference to PUA. I was able to sign up, but the site shows me that the system is still working on allowing weekly claims. So it looks like we still have to wait. So that's a good comment. Would you like to add anything onto that page?
Hi, thanks for asking. Nope, all good. I just wanted to share in case anyone else was trying to figure out how to file a weekly claim. It looks like they're just still trying to get the system up and running.
My understanding is they also, I was on that website earlier today, and they indicated they're actually hiring because of the demand to process all of these. So
Right.
it's a tsunami of work.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Nancy Brune.
Christelle, I have one question for you while we still have you on the phone. I've heard a couple of stories in recent weeks where a family member decided to she lost her job and she decided to forego unemployment benefits because it was her understanding she would lose her child care subsidy. But from what you're saying, the child care subsidy is paid to the child care center directly. And so I guess how do the benefits impact one's eligibility for the child care subsidy? Is it a question of just misinformation or incorrect information out there, or some regulation?
Sure. So we pay the provider on behalf of the family, but the family still has to be eligible for the program. We currently have a wait list in place and we have a working purpose of care, but we're waiving those on a case-by-case basis for parents who have lost their job due to COVID. So it should be, for lack of a better way to describe it, passed up the chain to us in our office to make that decision. And so we would be looking at those. I haven't denied any of them, so I would suggest that they ask for a special consideration. Depending on their income, they could be over income for the program. We do have an income limit for the program, but again, I wouldn't want to do any kind of eligibility evaluation right now. During this presentation, I would just say have them apply and ask for a special consideration.
So they would go to your website and apply, or would they apply through the child care operator?
Oh, I apologize. Yes. So all of our subsidy eligibility is actually done through the Children's Cabinet in the North and rural and the Urban League in Clark and Nye counties. And that's where a person would apply for services. And then those two entities that do our subsidy eligibility would send a special consideration to the administrators of the block grant for those special situations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, really good questions and good clarification to know. The North, they go through Children's Cabinet, South through the Urban League.
Right.
Excellent. Wonderful.
We have another question from Alvin. Can Francine repeat which organization is hiring right now and how can someone apply for a job there? Thank you.
So I just saw it online. It was the unemployment office. So I know Nancy used the acronym DEETR. What does that stand for, Nancy?
Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation.
Yes, I've seen that before. So it's Department of Employment and Training and Rehabilitation, and it sounded like they were hiring folks to process all of this unemployment.
Good. Great. Any more questions?
Anyone on the phone have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself now.
And Robert said the Nevada NEATS, NEATS job website for all state of Nevada employment opportunities. Good to know.
Right, and I encourage everyone who can see the chat to go ahead and check that out. When I put the video on YouTube, I will try and include those items that are in the chat message for those who are on the phone. Okay?
Thank you.
I have no more questions. Thank you.
Okay, good. So wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Now I'd like to introduce Arlene Alvarez. She's a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, working specifically on the 2020 census. And she was born in Mexico and grew up in San Diego, California. She lived across the street from the Jackie Robinson YMCA and is where she first learned the value of a strong community. Very, very interesting information. She also joined the Embassy of Mexico in Washington after college, and she has today now has her position as partnership specialist. So thank you for joining us, excuse me, Arlene, and thank you for being here, and please go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to participate. Yeah, like most of my background is in community outreach, and that's basically what my position as partnership specialist allows me to do with this mission, right? To get everyone in our community counted so that we can get the representation and the funding so necessary for a lot of the work that we all do. And I would like to start by providing a brief update in terms of operations. You know, all of our efforts have been impacted by the pandemic. The census was able to start as scheduled in mid-March for self-response period for most households, and that operation has been extended. The census was, the whole operation was going to end at the end of July. But that period has been extended through the end of October. So it's been extended quite a bit. So we're in the middle of the self-response period where 95% of the households have been invited to respond. And a smaller portion of households, especially in rural areas where they don't receive mail at home or they receive mail at PO boxes, have been the most impacted by the pandemic because the census reaches out to those households by having census takers physically deliver those questionnaires. So, you know, with all the closures and the needing for to accommodate, you know, health requirements, that operation started in Nevada, restarted in Nevada this past Monday. So now a lot of our rural communities that were lagging in response rates, for example, Esmeralda County, Lincoln, Eureka, are now going to be catching up. So Nevada right now is basically holding pretty even with the national response rate, which as of this morning or as of yesterday, let's see, the national response rate is at 59.9%. So we're a little bit over halfway, and Nevada is 59 even. So we're like right on track in response rates, and as you know, with the work that you all do, especially with Department of Welfare and Social Services, you understand how important it is to get the funding that our state needs to be able to provide these services. One of the documents that I like to use was developed by the George Washington School of Public Policy, which ranked the programs, the federal programs that each state, or the funding that each state receives based on that census count. And I know that I've shared it with some of you, and I'm going to try to share my screen so you could see the latest numbers that I have from them, which are the numbers from fiscal year 2016, which list that Nevada received over $6 billion just in 1 year based on census funding for programs like Medicaid, SNAP, community block grants. So let me see if I can share my screen. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Share screen. And then I need to get to, oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. Share. I don't know if everybody's able to see my screen. Yeah, but this is just one way that we can show like the tangible programs that are impacted, WIC, Head Start, based on our population count. And one of the ways, yes?
Your screen's not sharing. I just want to let you know. That's okay. You can continue to talk. I just want you to know it's not sharing.
Okay, well, sorry. Well, I will be happy to send this report to everyone afterwards. But in the meantime, yeah, it's a great report that has the list of programs, Medicaid, community block grants, employment, training programs that are all impacted by the census. And it helps illustrate with people like how responding really does impact the long term. And some of the ways that we partner with community organizations and agencies is by sharing digital materials. So the census has developed a social media kit that I'd be happy to share, some action messages that can be placed into newsletters, any other communication that partners have with community, and also getting creative, right? You know, right now with the pandemic, it's really hard to reach people if it's not through distribution efforts. So, so we partnered with Spread the Word Nevada and the CIS initiative, where they were distributing like, academic kits to kids in a lot of the Title I schools. And so they used our tote bags, and they used our informational flyers to put that information into the materials that were being sent to all these kids. And so, so we're just asking of our partners, like any creative way that you can think of plugging in, integrating the census message into the work that you're already doing. When I think it was Robert describing how some grocery stores have the applications for SNAP, I believe, available at grocery stores, I was thinking maybe stapling one of our FAQs about the census to those applications, so people understand that, you know, those services that they're receiving are only possible and are directly funded by them, you know, participating in the census. So, so we're really flexible in terms of partnership with the Latino community. I've been in touch with some of the local legislators, and we're going to have a caravan next weekend that goes down the strip. And so we're just planning like little events like that, you know, to get the media's attention, to get people's attention, however it is that we can, given the challenges that we have. And, well, you know, different communities have different concerns with responding to the census. So as partners, there are 3 messages that we would love for people to highlight when they do share information about the census. Number 1, that it's safe. The information is completely confidential, and the mission of the census is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place, regardless of economic status, of living circumstance, of immigration status. I think I may have already said that, but yeah, like we do not exclude anyone, and so that's a message that I'm working really hard to get to the immigrant community. But some people just don't understand that it really is, you know, everyone needs to participate. Another challenge is just like apathy, or just, you know, not seeing where that funding is going. And so some of the ways that I like to demonstrate that the census does impact is by highlighting projects like the East Las Vegas Community Library, right? That beautiful library was just recently built, and it's only possible because of the planning that took place to ensure, and that was based on the population and the demographics of that community. And so, those are just some of the ways that I like to tailor the census message. And given the pandemic, also gives us another opportunity because the CARES Act and, you know, all these other emergency funding programs that are being distributed are all based on the population. And so this is another way that we can highlight the fact that the census is important, and not just for the immediate response efforts, but for the long term in our state. And so so I would be more than happy to individually discuss any ideas that you may have specific to your departments or to the work that you're doing, and also share the digital materials that I have. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much.
Arlene, wonderful job. I can't tell if Nancy Brune wants to jump in, but I want to tell you 2 things really quick. The report that you were going to try to screen share with us, get it to us. Tracy gets everything out on social media. It's a good reminder to show where the money goes. Even some of our volunteers in the beginning said, hey, give me some more talking points, because it's part of our questions when they talk to each one of the general public that come into us. Have you filled out your census? And now we can provide some information where it goes. And is it appropriate for our volunteers to offer the census form to be completed when they're working with a client? Can they offer, is there an application, you know, whatever the form is? I did mine online, so.
That's a great question. That's a great question. So, so by now, the households that haven't responded received the physical paper questionnaire in the mail. And unfortunately, it's not a questionnaire that can be downloaded. It's all tied to each household. There's a unique number per household. So, but people that do work with the public are more than welcome to share the phone numbers. So that's another resource that I'm going to share with everyone. The census is available in 13 languages, both on phone and internet, and the phone lines are direct to the language. So you don't have to press buttons to get to whatever language you want. So in addition to those 13 languages that are available online and on the phone, we also have guides in 59 additional languages that walk people through the physical questionnaire, question by question, and explain each question in that language. So so the direct answer to your question is no, that we don't have those questionnaires, you know, available for people to give to people, but we do have the guides. So you're more than welcome to either point them to where the guides are available online, or print a few of those guides to share with people if they need help, or direct them to the phone lines where there's customer service agents working all the way to like 11 p.m. I think they're working like 7 to 11, like every day of the week. So.
And through October, correct? Now they can they have
yeah, and I should clarify. So yes, we'll be able to respond through October. However, if households haven't responded by mid-August, that's when the beginning of our last operation starts. And that operation is called non-response follow-up. And that is when the census takers go to households that haven't responded to the census. So our responses to the census are by law, right? Every household needs to respond. And so if that household hasn't responded, then there is not a risk, but a great possibility that they will get a door knock starting mid-August. And so, you know, they should respond before then, but yeah, they will still be able to respond through the end of October.
Wonderful. Such great information, and such a good highlight to realize what the census money goes to and how important it is that each and every person gets counted. Otherwise, money's left on the table that could have come to Nevada to support programming and infrastructure and all of the things it goes to.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arlene. Any other questions, feedback, suggestions? Well, this has been a really wonderful day. And Nancy Brune, thank you again for your partnership and your leadership in this. And thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for participating today. Tracy is going to email, or no, Tracy would like you to email her if you would like other follow-up other than just the YouTube or PowerPoints. If there's any additional information you think that wasn't gathered in something that's sent to you in the future, please feel free to reach out to Tracy Sherwood, who you would have received probably the original invitation from. All right, anything else? Nancy Brune, anything you want to add?
No, I think it's been a great hour. So thank you to everyone who joined. And also, if Tracy, you want to put your, there you go, thank you, your email. And then also, if you have suggestions for other topics you'd like us to take on during the brown bag lunch, please do also share that with Tracy or Linda.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you for our wonderful volunteers being on the phone, all our community partners, all the participants. You're wonderful. Have a great day.
Happy holiday weekend.
Yeah.